So the last couple of days, I've been playing a lot of Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door for Switch. For the most part, I think it's an excellent and nostalgic remaster or remake of the GameCube classic. The visuals are outstanding and charming, even at the controversial 30 FPS. The story and writing are usually creative and engaging, and the characters are memorable. At the same time, though, I'm finding myself not enjoying the game quite as much as I expected, and I've come to realize it's because of one recurring problem, which is pacing. I saw this mentioned in some of the reviews out there, but I think it's a bigger issue than most people are discussing. So in this video, we're going to analyze why the Thousand Year Door has a continuous pacing problem and the extent to which that detracts from the overall experience. I love Nintendo and Paper Mario, but we've got to talk about this. Please remember to subscribe to the channel for more retro gaming content and beyond. I'm really trying to hit that 1,000 subscriber milestone. So the first couple of hours, I was really enjoying Paper Mario. The prologue is interesting, Rogueport has character and fun exploration, and soon I was trekking through Petal Meadows in the first chapter. In fact, Chapter 1 has probably been my favorite so far, fighting my way through classic greenery and castle beats to reach a mighty dragon. However, when I reached Chapter 2, that enjoyment started to deteriorate a bit. The Boggly Woods chapter feels excessively long, especially once you start to overstay your welcome in the giant tree. The tree consists of an endless series of pipes up and down the interior of the trunk, with a lot of backtracking made worse by the slightly labyrinth design. Eventually, I found myself just wanting this level to be over with. The tree interior is also visually the least interesting area in the game, and it seemed to just drag on and on. Based on my positive memories of the game, I assumed this was only a fluke, or just one of the more lengthy chapters in the game, but unfortunately this feeling actually became worse in Chapter 3, where you arrive at Glitzville to battle your way up the ranks in the arena. I genuinely enjoyed the story arc and strong sense of style in this chapter, but the feeling of excessive padding or the chapter just being needlessly long became even stronger here. This level consists of climbing your way up from rank 17 to rank 1 through arena battles. When the chapter began, I assumed I'd fight some enemies of much higher level to jump ranks, such as 12 and 8 and 5 and so on, but no, you actually have to fight 17 rounds in this arena. Between each round, there is often a ton of dialogue or backtracking across the level to essentially flip a switch or pick up an item and then listen to more dialogue. You can't just quickly grind your way through these ranks. This level is probably 2/3 dialogue over its runtime of 3 hours or so, which all just feels really excessive. The glacial pace at which you move up through the ranks really hinders the story in my opinion rather than helping, and it starts to feel like it drags on even if things do come together nicely in the last few rounds. Even just cutting the number of rounds in half or starting at rank 10 instead of 17, I think would have helped this so much. I currently just finished Chapter 4 in this game, and once again I enjoyed it overall, but grew a little bit tired with it towards the end, wishing the chapters were shorter so I could move on to the next artistic and delightful area. I can't shake this nagging feeling that the Thousand Year Door should be a 15 to 20 hour game, and that it's somehow been stretched into more of a 25 to 30 hour game by adding an extra 30 to 45 minutes of padding to each chapter. Between fetch quests, backtracking without fast travel, hugely long dialogue, and so on, the game seems to move at such a slow pace. I found myself putting down the controller after every chapter to take a long break, instead of wanting to plow through to the next one. Part of the reason this game feels excessively long or slow-paced to me is because I recently just completed the wonderful Super Mario RPG remake. That game moves along at a fairly blistering pace for an RPG, with only a 10 to 12 hour runtime, super quick battles, and short, vibrant levels. I realize these are different styles of RPGs, and Thousand Year Door does have more depth and narrative, but I do think this game could drop those 30 or so minutes off of each chapter without losing any of that charm or key content, while greatly improving the pace along the way. To put things in perspective, in both of these RPGs you essentially track down 7 stars, but my playtime after getting my 3rd star in the Thousand Year Door was already about as long or longer as my entire playthrough of Super Mario RPG. I found myself actually enjoying the content in between the chapters quite a bit, since this is usually limited to 15 to 30 minute smaller arcs to set up the next chapter. For example, there's a fun diversion in Rogueport where you infiltrate the mob to get a blimp ticket to fly to Glitzville. Other times, though, the pointless backtracking resurfaces, such as when you're trying to reach Twilight Town. In this scenario, you travel under the west side of town and jump in the pipe to the town only to have it reject you. So then you walk all the way back to the professor who sent you there, who then sends you to find someone from Twilight Town to figure out how to make the pipe accept you. This person is just standing behind a nearby building and tells you to write your name on something for the pipe to accept you, so he writes your name on your pants, and then you walk all the way back down to the pipe, and this time it accepts you. This is the sort of pointless backtracking that doesn't really add anything except tedium to your journey. The developers did attempt to improve backtracking between these main areas at least by adding a hub room of pipes between each area right below Rogueport, but this doesn't fix any of the backtracking within the self-contained chapters, which is where the majority of the problem lies. So far, I think The Thousand Year Door is a good example of a classic that mostly holds up, but is also held back by some dated level design choices. The game has plenty of charm, fun battles, and sharp writing, but it suffers from these overly long chapters, needless backtracking, and excessively long story beats. So what do you think? Does this game struggle with pacing? Do you think any of these chapters are overly long? Maybe my tolerance for long RPGs is just decreasing. I don't know. Leave a comment and let's discuss.